Hello, everyone. My name is Danny. This is my review for Molly's Game. Molly's Game is based on the true story of Molly Bloom, an Olympic class skier who ran the world's most exclusive high stakes poker game for a decade before being arrested in the middle of the night by 17 FBI agents wielding automatic weapons. Her players included Hollywood royalty, sports stars, business titans, and finally, unbeknownst to her, the Russian mob. Her only ally was her criminal defense lawyer Charlie Jaffe, who learned that there was much more to Molly than the tabloids led us to believe. This is a 2017 film, rated R. It does run 2 hours and 20 minutes, and it gets to feel long. This stars Jessica Chastain, Idris Elba, Kevin Costner, and there's a bunch of other people that you'll know just playing poker along the way. We'll start with this, that I didn't read the back of that sleeve before I watched this movie. And now that I know that that's really what it wanted to focus on, and that's like explaining the whole movie just on the sleeve, I thought the beginning was actually really cool. It explains her being an Olympic athlete, it explains her family problems, and then it shows her being raided in her apartment by the 17 FBI agents. I mean, I thought it was a really cool ending, really cool beginning, but then the movie sleeve thinks that that's all the movie's about. So I guess it's not as exciting as I thought it was going to be, but I thought when I was in the moment that it was actually kind of cool. Nice beginning. After that, for the next hour, the storyline just jumps around. And I don't understand why movies do this. It goes to the beginning, it goes to the end, it goes to current day, it goes to the childhood. I don't understand that strategy. It gets confusing. It gets upsetting to the viewer trying to make sense of everything. And if you jump around too much, which this movie does, it just is too much. It's okay to do the storyline in order and have every movie like that. It makes sense. It's fine. You don't have to be that different. I just mark it down right away when a movie starts jumping around the storyline because it just gets too confusing. It really does. Okay, so this is my first real big problem with this movie, okay? So, when we get to the poker games, when we get to talking about people and explaining characters, and some of the minor ones become a little bit more major, a little bit more important, it explains some real life stars. Like, it talks about them. It talks about who they are, and we actually know who that person is in real life, America, the world, whatever, as a star. I don't understand how it can live in its world of explaining movie stars playing poker in a movie and then having a star like Idris Elba be just some weird character of a lawyer. If somebody wants to explain that to me, good luck, because it just didn't make any sense whatsoever. And then my second huge problem about this movie is that it's about Molly Bloom being a criminal, right? This whole movie, 2 hours and 20 minutes of her being a criminal. Well, I'm just going to tell you, everybody, at the end, this is what happens. So they're in the courtroom. Molly Bloom is guaranteeing her lawyer that she's going to admit guilty. She's going to plead guilty to this crime after all this 2 hours and a half of almost, craziness. She's finally going to just plead guilty. Okay, cool. Not sure where it's going to go from there, but that's what we got, okay? Then it goes through this whole. She says there's like 87 questions that the judge has to ask her before she pleads guilty. And then the counsel goes up to the judge's quarters. He says, "This is the silliest thing that I've ever had in front of my desk. There's people across the street committing more crimes than what I think Molly ever committed." And he just like calls it off pretty much. He finds her, gives her community service. It's like, dude, what the hell did I just watch? It's 2.5 hours almost of this woman doing all this stuff that's illegal, and she made the conscious decision to do it. I mean, money is a big deal in this country. Everybody right now is talking about gas prices and Social Security. I mean, if somebody goes around for 10 years stealing money from the government, I think that's a big deal. But obviously it wasn't about Molly. So the other side of this coin that I know people are thinking while they're hearing me talk, is that she was a celebrity. Okay. Understandable. All right. So let's say the judge said, that if he puts her in jail for stealing money from the government, which happens all the time, people go to jail for it all the time. Maybe he thought the backlash of putting a celebrity in jail would be too much. Maybe, he thought that it'd be good coverage or press in his record of cases that he let this, millionaire, billionaire, whatever she is, that, that he just kind of let her off with a hand slap. Maybe this happens all the time with celebrities. Maybe it's a normal thing. But then why would we make a movie about it? If she didn't go to jail, what's the point of making the movie? I don't understand. I don't get it. I really don't. If you're going to make a movie about somebody, make it about what their downfall was. Make it about what they actually went through actually mattering. The only thing that matters, and it's my last point, is Kevin Costner. Why this movie mattered is because she went through all this, and she could have just, she finally at the end of the movie, her dad talks to her about how she just needed to get back up after falling. That's the lesson. You shouldn't need to resort to this life of crime and drugs. She had an injury from being an Olympian. All she had to do was get back on the horse. But there's so much else going on that she's this weakling of a woman that has to just quit and turn to a life of drugs and crime. And then at the end of the movie, she just gets a slap on the wrist and, oh, go ahead. Who knows what she went on to do? Write more books? Who knows? Maybe she started up her own casino. Who knows? But we don't ever find out, that's for sure. That's how a lot of movies work. And then, Costner was awesome. He was the greatest dad in this movie. He was the emblem of an Olympian athlete's father, pushing him to succeed, teaching him that there is no quit, how to better yourself in every aspect of your life. And then at the end, as a therapist, as a doctor, character, he teaches her that all this that she went through, she could have avoided if she just was real with herself and with her family. It's a pretty heavy lesson. The other thing is Idris Elba. As messed up as his character is, he's amazing in this. This speech that he gives to the other side of the defense or whatever, it's like one of the best speeches I've ever heard Idris Elba give. And all that Jessica Chastain character can say is, "Oh, I wanted to thank you for your speech earlier." Like, as dry as that. I'm like, come on. I mean, she's a little bit in shock as is in the moment, and then she goes to ice skate or whatever, which is all good. But we need to make a bigger deal out of amazing speeches. When somebody gives, the speech of their lifetime in a movie, there needs to be a little bit of, being in awe of it. Just back up for a second or zoom the camera out or something. Because Idris Elba turned in a really good performance in this movie. And it kind of went to naught. I'm kind of upset ever since I started this review to now. I'm realizing this movie is a lot worse than what I wanted it to be. I'm going to give it a B minus. But I think that's being nice. When you're watching this movie, it's heavy. There's a lot going on. It's kind of cool. The way she runs her poker games is really cool. The way she balances her books and she tries to be legal and she tries not to take drugs. And, it just turns into something. And she has to cope. And I understand all that. That's good. And I was really kind of cheering for Idris Elba to, get her off legitimately. I was cheering for Kevin Costner to come back, and he did, and he brought what he brought at the end of the movie, which was amazing. It just ended really stupid. So I don't know what this movie had to be made for, but some of the people in it turned out really amazing acting jobs, and the storyline was actually really cool to follow. It just didn't have a point because you didn't end up going to jail. So B minus for Molly's Game. If you enjoyed it, let me know, because I'd like to, get some different perspective on movies like this that kind of confuse me. So, my name is Danny. If you like this or any of my other videos, try and give them a watch, and like and subscribe to my channel if you would. And thanks a lot, guys. Enjoy movies.